I love doing detective work, um, trying to figure things out, mysteries and such. Lots of times at work, they'll be trying to figure out what happened, what went missing, and I always love getting in on it and figuring it out. And I especially love closing a case. It's like one of the best things ever. That's why I don't like philosophy. It's circular nonsense that takes you absolutely nowhere with a bunch of big words that mean nothing really, so that you can come back to it all really means nothing in the end, so go about your business. I can't stand it. I like hard facts, finding things out, and then closing it. Man, it's good to go. And, you know, sometimes though, we have to reopen a case that we think that we have something just down, and it's the way that it is, and it's kind of hard sometimes, but that's exactly what I'm about to do, and it's one of the most challenging of all mysteries there are. So when the rapture happens and when we get out of here, and nobody knows it, and nobody will ever be able to get it down to the exact day. And maybe that's why it drives me so nuts that I feel like I have to, because I just, the harder it is, the more I want to push towards it and try to figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. I opened it back up yesterday, and I took a look, and I stayed up late, and I was punching numbers, and something happened. I found something, and I'm going to show it with you. So let's take a look at this. All right. Welcome back to The Unleashing. I'm your host, R.A.P.T.U.R.E. We're going to take a close look at the rapture here, and we're going to reopen this thing up, look at some ideas, throw some things out, know what we know for fact, what's iffy, what's suggestion, and what's real. And we're going to come up with an idea here that's going to make this thing work. And I was already doing it, but I found some stuff and I want to share it with you guys, and it could be pretty big. So let's see what happens. Right. So yesterday it's driving me nuts. Right. I'm at work, wandering around, and I'm thinking about the whole time Feast of Trumpets. I'm thinking about my trip. By the way, trip was great. Went up there, got some stuff. There's some pictures right outside the front window of the Vision. It was nice out, beautiful. The weather was perfect weather, and Jerusalem was good. I was waiting for the trumpets, and just waiting to see what would happen. But I went there and I checked the whole thing out, and it was cool. And I got my stuff, and I got to go back again one more time with the U-Haul. I've just been kind of grabbing a few things here and there, but it won't be till maybe late in October when I get a little bit more money to get a U-Haul or whatever. But anyways, beside all that, I'm back, and I've just been thinking about the whole time, and I kind of said last year, when Revelation 12 happened, and nothing happened, and we were looking at it for so long, I was in a bad mood. It took about a month, and I'm just like, I need to calm down, and this year I said, no matter what happens, I'm going to keep a good mood, and I'm going to keep on driving through this, and we're going to see what happens, and I'm keeping my word. Right now, I'm in a pretty good mood still. So yesterday I'm at work, and I'm thinking about the whole thing, and I'm running scenarios through my mind, and you guys see how I am. I can't even look at the camera because whatever I think I see, I'm there in that spot. That's why I'm always moving my head around like Ray Charles. It's just the way that my mind works, and photographic memory and stuff like that. Well, I'm just running different ideas. I'm thinking about different things and all this different stuff, and the rapture idea, when it happens, and Feast of Trumpets. And then I just start plugging at things, and I'm like, that's it. I gotta go through every single thing once again and just take a look. What are we missing here, right? So let's just get some facts out, right? We know the rapture is coming, right? I don't even have to do research to know that the Holy Spirit in me is just like quickening it. We know that it's there. And you, all that watch and have the Holy Spirit in you that are Christians, you know it's going to happen too, right? We're jacked for it. We can feel its approach. We can look at the signs and we see all these things that are closing in. The darkness, it's so dark and it's so close. It's the darkest of the night. And we know that it's going to happen. And can it go another year? There's a possibility. I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. War's about to break out. They're waiting for this. They're chomping at the bit. And look what else is going on with Obama. I'm pretty, like I said before, I'm good at sensing evil, and his is just through the roof. He's got like a new kindled fire. He knows that his time's about to come back. And when I see stuff like that, it just makes me think even more, hey, this guy really is the Antichrist, okay? And we got the false prophet in check as far as we know, that it's the Pope, right? He's fulfilled all that. It looks good. And with the different prophecies from the Malachi to the Revelation 17, okay? So we'll skip that. We know that. We know it's the end time. We know that him and the Antichrist are alive when we come back at the end of 7 years. So it's got to kick off sometime because he doesn't die of old age. He's alive. That's important, right? And the Antichrist, that we'll know when the time comes. But I'm running these verses through my mind, and I'm thinking, perfectly well. There's a falling away, then the man of sin will be revealed. And I'm thinking about Paul's verses and how we're kept from the hour, and when the tribulation is, and all this other stuff, and the trumpet's blowing. And I don't throw anything out. You can't. There's an amazing way that all this fits together, where every prophecy is fulfilled. And nothing gets thrown out. That's why it drives me nuts when people just go, Matthew 24, into the tribulation. It's like you just throwing out literally the whole of the Bible. It talks about things. You can't do that. And with my mind, the way it works, I can hold multiple thoughts at the same time. So I'm looking at all this, and Matthew 24 definitely looks like at the end of the tribulation. He's talking to the Jews, and then he also throws in hints during that time, and it keeps it so mixed up. And when Jesus is talking and stuff, he also knows that people will be searching for things, and he's keeping it hidden at the same time. Only God could do it. It's just so amazing how he sets it up, and we find it along the way as a reference to what I'm talking about. The two witnesses would lay in the street and the world would see it. We didn't know that until television came along. It's like now it makes sense that it's going to be all over the news and stuff. Just so many different things, eye-openers, and technology increased over the past 50 years after reverse engineering from Roswell and all that other stuff. It's just, it's amazing. But I'm looking at this, and I start thinking, I'm like, okay, let's go back to getting, where does it go, all right? Jesus fulfilled the feast days, all right? And we know that he did it in order. Boom, Passover. First, unleavened bread, first fruits, and then Pentecost on the day, and it stopped for 2,000 years, okay? And we know that there's 3 more that are going to be fulfilled, and they will be in that order. So somebody's thinking, the rapture could happen on Feast of Atonement. No, I don't think so. It's a Feast of Trumpets thing, and that's the next one in order. Can we make it another year? No, it doesn't look like it, and you guys know that just as well. If we were to push up to May or February, I'm flexible where I'd be like, okay, now if it looks like it's getting close, I could maybe see we could push for a Passover rapture situation or something like that. But we also know that the tribulation will start in the fall, because that wraps around to around Passover when the Antichrist will go in the temple, and it lines back up for Feast of Atonement, which is around Second Coming, because it's Judgment Day stuff. We're not going to be around for 6 months before Judgment Day. It's going to happen relatively fast. So knowing this, the tribulation does start in the fall. All right, don't worry, I'm going somewhere with all this. I found some stuff out. Okay. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm just running it through my mind and how it goes. And I thought about one thing that has always, it didn't bother me, but it was like a small jab right to the stomach, only for a split second, and it would pass, and I didn't really think any more of that. And that is Feast of Trumpets order. When Jesus fulfilled Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, and Pentecost, those were in direct order within the same year it happened. And when Feast of Trumpets happens, boom, rapture, we believe, of course, and then 7 years goes on, and then boom, Feast of Atonement, and then Feast of Tabernacles. And see, that's always kind of bothered me just a little bit. Like, that's the only one where there's a 7-year spread, and it doesn't go exactly in succession like the other ones. And then I started thinking, I'm like, unless the rapture isn't associated with Feast of Trumpets, okay? And I'm about to blow your mind here. And this is gonna change a little something, but there's hope, and this whole thing does kick off this year. It's super soon, and that's what I'm talking about right now. I don't even get this in the final plans. This is the rough draft that I'm talking to you guys about right now, so you guys are getting it right in the beginning. I called up my buddy Chris, Perilous Times, last night, told him the whole thing. He's thinking about it too. We're throwing out different verses. I'm like, counteract it any way you can, because we're looking at it, trying to see if it'll play out, because that's the way you do. I can't throw anything out. So if one verse in there on one of these prophecies doesn't add up, I'll have to toss it out. But right now, they all are fitting in a way that would still work. So it's very interesting. And here it goes. The Feast of Trumpets isn't for the rapture, it's for the second coming. All right? I know this is crazy talk, right? But I've got numbers that are going to back this up, and I'm going to show you guys. See, not only do we know that gets fulfilled, we know that we have a certain amount of numbers. 1260 for 3.5 years that the two witnesses are in, and 1290, okay? And I got this thing where I read backwards sometimes. That's how Jewish people do it too. They read in their books and it's backwards. I've got a couple comments and it's like, that's a little trippy. But I grab magazines and stuff and I just start looking at backwards. And I'm not even Jewish. I don't know why I do it. But as you saw in one of the videos before, I went from the middle of the tribulation, right where we know the two witnesses, boom, seventh trumpet, and I worked my way back until you get to the year number 2, and that is when the 5th trumpet is blown, and we're starting to get a timeline of what the time of the tribulation looks like. And then we know the wrath starts with the vials or bowls, whatever you want to call them, right after the 7th trumpet, which is right after the two witnesses. So the second half of the tribulation at the start. So when he was like, oh, it's pre-wrath, well, you got to remember the verse that people are giving in marriage and going about their daily lives. They don't quite know yet. And it's not post-tribulation because, everybody's dead by that time. And, of course, we'd be going through the wrath and everything else, and we're not appointed to that. But I'm going to put this all together real fast in a rough way, and you guys are going to see, and it makes real good sense, and it's pretty crazy. And it's protected still. All right, I can't give you guys an exact number, and you guys are going to see this. It's genius. Even if I work my way backwards, because I know together the tribulation is 2,550 days, okay, for the extended period of it. But even if I find the end point, that end point is still fluctuated, so you can't get an exact day from the front or from the back. You can only get an idea. It's literally hidden in space and time. Only God knows it. But we're gonna. If this is right, we might be getting pretty close here. All right. So this is interesting. Okay. If you put Feast of Trumpets at the end, and when they blow the shofar at the end, when they're in Petra or whatever, and at the same time when they're like, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, talking about Jesus, and we come through at that time, then boom, a few days later after that, and the Battle of Armageddon and everything like that, and the gathering of them, because they're not in Jerusalem, they're in Petra or wherever else. So they got to be gathered up. So when you hear Jesus, and we're coming back in the second coming, is talking about, I want you to collect my saints from the four corners of earth and heaven and stuff like that. I think he's grabbing them from all over the place and bringing them to Jerusalem, where a Feast of Atonement is going to happen, and it's going to be Judgment Day, and even the Jews believe it's Judgment Day, okay? Now we're going in the same order within the same year. After this happens, we set up tabernacles, and we're with him. But here we go, all right? If we look at it this way, we got to look into Daniel, and I'm going to read these verses and point them out, okay? Daniel 12, verse 10, many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Now this makes it sound like when the abomination of desolation happens, we're going from the middle to the end. And I flipped it. I put it in the beginning instead. From the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. And I started in the beginning to see if we would be around these times that we're looking for, like Passover and such. And they do. They line up really good. All right. If you go from October 3rd, 2018, this year, to April 15th, 2022, which is Passover, 3.5 years later, exactly 1,290 days, you come to Passover, all right? It lines up perfectly. And we know there's another 1260. Why do we know that? I'll show you guys. Revelation 12, verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of God that they should feed her there. 1,203 score days. That's 1260, okay? You put these numbers together, you get your 7 years, exactly 2,550 days. But instead of 1260 at the beginning, which brings you to Purim, if you were to start October 1st for the tribulation to start, it would take you to March 15th or March 14th, which is Purim, 1,260 days. But then when you add up from that time, 1290, it doesn't add up right. You don't get your Feast of Trumpets days. And we're looking at a timeline here where there's a fluctuation, like a day or two, because we don't know rotation of planet and other things like that, but it's not going to be like 15 days off. It's going to be relatively accurate on those spots, and only God will know exactly down to the second. So this is kind of an overview, kind of rough look at it right here, all right? So we know that they're in the wilderness that long. We also know that the two witnesses, all right, now let's take a look at the two witnesses. Chapter 11, verse 3. Now I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,203 score days, 1260 again. And this is the first part of the tribulation. Why? Because we can compare it to the woes and the trumpets. We know that it goes from the beginning to the middle and not from the middle to the end, okay? And then after that, and the Antichrist overtakes them, the two prophets storm after 3 days and a half. They lay in the streets for 3.5 days. This is going to line up too, all right? Now, we know that the first half is 1290, so if they were to start exactly when the tribulation happens, right, let's say October 3rd this year, and it takes them to Passover, it won't, because they're only going to be preaching for 1260. That's 30 days plus. However, if the two witnesses showed up 30 days after the tribulation starts, the peace deal is made, then you could get your lineup to April 15th, all right? And that would be their time. Now, 1260, they preach. I'm guessing, just guessing, that doesn't count the 3.5 days they lay in the street. If you take 3.5 days, all right, from that time, it brings you up to around, because they start at night, it takes you to April 19th, all right? Something interesting, something that I've never been able to figure out before, and this is the only time where it's like, ooh, man, that looks good. And that is Daniel 12, verse 12. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,335 days, okay? Nobody knows what that is. Now, if I put it in the beginning of the start, it doesn't make any sense, and they're about to go into torment and everything like that. But if I start it 3 days later on the 19th after the two witnesses go, and we run it all the way through the end, it brings you to December 14th, 2025, okay? From April 19th, after they would resurrect and come back to life and go up. That's exactly 1,335 days, okay? You know what that lands on? It lands on Hanukkah, all right? The first day of it starting on the 14th of December. Why is that interesting? I'm going to show you guys right now. It's pretty crazy, and I'm like, oh man, that looks good. Hanukkah, also known as Festival of Lights, is an 8-day Jewish holiday commemorating the rededication of the Holy Temple, all right, in Jerusalem. Here's why that's interesting. It's going to be a total abomination of desolation until Jesus comes back. If we make it to 1335, and of course we do, we'll get to see the dedication of the temple and where God's going to rule from. And it lines up with that prophecy in Daniel, like to the day, counting from the two witnesses being removed. And I'm like, that's interesting right there. That is close. All right. If we go from April 15th to September 26th, it's exactly 1260. Now, Feast of Trumpets in 2025, 7 years from now, lands on Tuesday the 23rd and Wednesday the 24th. So the 26th is like a couple days past it. But, like I said, that falls in a timeline that's close enough for a little fluctuation, all right? So it's very interesting. It's definitely something we can definitely consider. All right, now let's take a look at 1 Thessalonians, all right, 4:16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, the voice of an archangel, with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first, and we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Therefore comfort one another with these words, which is of course what we do. Blessed hope, all right? Nothing gets us more jacked than talking about getting out of here. It's exciting to know that there's going to be an escape sometime, all right? Why is this important? Because we're putting Feast of Trumpets and that last trump, shofar, as the rapture happening. Of course, I mean, it's a good speculation because we don't know. And the seventh trump, no, I'm totally against that in the middle of the tribulation. Why? Because people are still, they're not giving in marriage anymore, all right? We've already lost over half the population of the earth. It's a disaster. Christians dead everywhere now at this point, like almost all of them, I think. And Jews are fleeing, all right? Yeah, no, not good at all, and not definitely blessed, all right, or encouragement, okay? It doesn't line up. It only is in the beginning, but it has to be at a perfect time that we don't know about, okay? So, making this point, the Feast of Trumpets, very well, this last trump that Paul refers to, is just Jesus himself with his voice and his own trumpets. And why the angel in that car, when that lady got to ride, said, trump's about to sound, you know? The trumpets to come pick us up, something completely different than the ones that we're looking at. And then now would be like, well, Feast of Trumpets has to be fulfilled and it has to be somewhere. Let's take a look at this. The Feast of Trumpets, all those feast days were filled by Jesus. What's that to do with the Jews? Okay, so that's important. So I know that we've been grafted in, but that last 7 years when this stuff happens, I mean, it's also for them. He's bringing them back into the fold. We're the branches that got allowed to be brought back in. So if it is for the Jews, then that's exactly what it's for. And that last trump that they blow is going to be the same time that we get out, or that we come back, and they get gathered up and protected, and we go into the 1,000 years, and Feast of Atonement's next, and boom, Feast of Tabernacles, and then the rededication of the Jewish temple. It's all been cleansed out and stuff, and now Jesus is ruling. And it's 1,335 days after the two witnesses. It lines up perfectly with the numbers. This is big. If this is it, all right? Now let's throw out the scenario. So here we go. I'm just going to throw it out. Now these numbers can fluctuate. Maybe the Antichrist gets antsy and he takes out the two witnesses before the time is appointed, right? Or maybe they come in a different day, or whatever else. It's hard to say. But somewhere in this, it happens to this point. So it could start the tribulation day or two early, day or two late. Who knows? Somewhere in there, though. But this is the scenario, and I'm going to throw this out for you guys right now, okay? October 3rd, 2018. The peace treaty that they try to bring to the table during the UN is confirmed by the Antichrist. Boom. Tribulation starts. Wait, what did you just say? The tribulation starts. Yeah, the tribulation starts. And now the man of sin is revealed, fulfilling that prophecy that we would know perfectly well, and the falling away, which could be talking about us right now. We've also speculated before that it's talking about the catching away, or it could be the falling away that happens at that time when Christians decide to just completely turn away. Who knows, all right? This is a scenario. We watch it happen for a month. The white rider goes out, but we know they're going to be fast, they're going to be quick. Why? Because the fifth trumpet starts, and the first trumpet blows around to a year and a half, maybe even closer. So because of this, the seals are going to be popping quick, and this first year and a half is just going to be absolute pandemonium, okay? So war breaks out really quick after that. Now, we're not going to be appointed to this, so we're still in a safe time, but now it all rests in Jesus' hand when he gets us out of here, which means no man knows the day or the hour. It's his perfect timing. All right? Now, November 3rd rolls around. War breaks out. Two witnesses get sent down. Why November 3rd? Because from November 3rd to April 15th, it's exactly the right amount of time. It's 1,260 days, all right? Now, knowing this also fulfills some of the visions that people have had, that the bombs start coming down the same time we go up. Can we take that for credit? No, we can take the Bible for credit. But it's something that could be possible and might not be thrown out. Kind of like my vision. Will it happen exactly like that? Could. It's looked pretty good so far. Will it? I'm definitely not putting that before the Bible. If God yanks us out of here before that, hey, that's awesome. That's what I want. And of course, anytime I ever put any sort of timeline, If God comes before that, you're not going to see me complaining. The sooner the better. Even during the middle of this video, it's going to be awesome. So this is a scenario here, okay? We get out of here. The tribulation's already started. 1,290 days later, boom, Passover happens. Antichrist rolls into Jerusalem, sets up the abomination of desolation. Jews go running for their life. They realize what's going on now. He takes out the 2 witnesses. Why is there? They lay dead in the street for 3.5 days. 3.5 days go away. They rise up, take off. The world sees it. Right. Second woe happens. 7 trumpets about to blow. Israel flees into the wilderness where they're protected for 1,260 days, which brings them right up to the 26th of September from what I can see so far. And Feast of Trumpets. They blow the trumpets. And on their last trumpet, whatever, we come through in the sky and we come get them. Now, we know perfectly well, so we're in the middle of it. We see the peace seal made. It's totally obvious to us that tribulation has started, but there's no death or worry going on just yet. 30 days later, Jesus picks us out of here. 30 days, and I'm only saying that we could go out at a time before that or some other time, maybe at the last second, who knows. But somewhere around there within 30 days, it has to be for the 2 witnesses. They show up in Jerusalem around the same time as Pandemonium, and for 1260 they go to Passover, 2022, April 15th. And then afterwards, they get killed nearly in the streets to middle of the day, April 19th. All right. Now, when we look at this timeline, this thing matches up really good, like better than I've seen before. And as all we did was we flipped it. 1290 in the beginning, 1260 in the end, instead of the other way around. Here's why it's interesting. Now, knowing there's 2,550 days, and if this lines up to Feast of Trumpets, why can't we work our way back to find exactly the day that it starts? Ooh, God's got to protect it again, because now we're using Feast of Trumpets, the day that no man knows the day or the hour of. So even if I try to come backwards, I can't lock it down. I can't do it. It's fluctuating. Here we have it lining up around the 26th. The rotation of the planet could change. We have no idea exactly. It's still in limbo. We can only get a rough estimate. But the way this looks right now, there's only one way to find out. We're going to be looking here at this PCL, which is planning on going through this month. All right, and if it's the one, then this thing kicks off. And shortly after we get out of here, okay? I absolutely do not believe we go into the tribulation. God has kept us from that hour. All right, Revelations 3:10. All right, and because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Okay, Jesus is going to keep us from that. We start looking at this, and this is like a last-second revelation here, and man, it lines up good. And why is it important? Because Feast of Trumpets has to be fulfilled, all right? And it's going to go in an order, and it's either for the rapture or the second coming, all right? And now it's up in the air. And the way the numbers look, I'm pushing towards the second coming, all right? Now let's say we go past this and we go into January or something like that, and nothing's happened. Looks like we're pushing another year somehow magically with everybody talking about war, but nothing happens. Then I'll be like, okay, let's try Feast of Trumpets at the beginning again. Now I've just got 2 options on the table. Instead of having Passover and Rosh Hashanah, I've now got Passover, Rosh Hashanah, and possibly Rosh Hashanah being the second coming. And we go sometime in the beginning on a mystery day that God chooses, when it's completely up to Him. And that's all I've done here. And it's very interesting, and I can't give any exact numbers, nor do I think that I should. And even if I secretly somehow stumble upon it, I don't know if that's going to be something I'm going to share. I'm going to keep it to myself. When somebody says, like somebody's probably thinking right now that's made it this far in the video, man, nobody knows the day or the hour, you can't do this, man. Listen, if I just start rattling off dates one by one out loud right now, one of those dates are going to land on the same day that the rapture happens. Do I know what that is? No, I don't. I can't confirm anything. But you definitely can talk about it, and you can get very close. And I love looking at this stuff, and especially talking about it. This is a very interesting conversation. And it changes what we've been looking at now for over 4 years, really big, about Rosh Hashanah marking the rapture, and actually Rosh Hashanah could be marking the second coming. I've ran some ideas and I've looked at the verses and all this stuff, and this one lets all of them still play out and work with no scratching. Not only do we not know the day, okay, but we'll see the man of sin. He'll be revealed before we go out line up, but we'll still be in safety. Jesus protects us. Revelation 3:10. He'll protect us from that hour, okay, coming on the whole world. We'll just see the beginning of it, okay? Before the bombs drop, and while they're coming down, boom, we go out, fulfilling some of the people that have prophecies about that kind of stuff happening, okay? We go into it a little bit further, we can comfort one another with this. It's definitely not mid or post tribulation, like I've always said. We know that we go out around the beginning of it, like we have, and now with the trumpet, we can also look and see, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trump of God, and dead in Christ rise first. We know what happens when we are alive, get caught up with him. But it's Jesus' voice, and it might not be the shofar at all, okay? That's something for them. It's very interesting with the Hanukkah thing and how it's a rededication of the temple and how that lines up with 1335 days from Daniel 12:12. Oh man, this whole thing looks good. Now how do we find out? We wait and see. If we start rolling into October, the peace seal gets pushed back, the Antichrist hasn't showed up, hey, it's out the window. It was a fun conversation. If it's right, this could change the game on everything. Now we have a timeline, you have some hope, and it does happen this year. Remember my mom's vision of destruction? I don't think that that's talking about hurricanes that are happening on the East Coast right now. I think that it's talking about the tribulation, and that's what makes sense. All right, so I'm still holding on to that idea. Can things change? Yeah, of course. But what we know right now, this is a very interesting idea. I've never heard anybody talk on it. Just like I've never heard anybody start working from the middle of the tribulation back to highlight some of the times when exactly the trumpets will be blowing. This is some new stuff, and it's just absolutely coming out. And I feel like God's like showing me some stuff, really, really exciting. And I love talking about it. I love sharing it. And we're going to be looking at this a little bit more. Chris is going to be coming over, I think, one of these days. We're going to talk about it and keep looking at it. If anything else comes up, I'm going to share it and be looking at it. But this can go even deeper. And I don't know if I'm going to take it there just yet. But everything lines up really good. And this is something interesting. And I'm really glad that I decided to take another look at this, because I know a lot of people out there are fretting. The Feast of Trumpets has happened, and it's done again. And it has to be fulfilled, okay? And it will fulfill something. It marks something. Is it the rapture? It might not be at all. And I'm starting to lean that it's not just the way this is. And the timing of it's revealing. I think that it might mark the second coming. It lines up good with numbers. Everything looks just perfect on it, almost to the T within a couple days. And that's good enough right there. If it's off 15 or more, I'm like, no, I tried 2019, it didn't look good. But 2018 this year, it does, which is why in our spirits, we're all feeling it. It's getting close, and we know that time's about up. We know that war's about to break out. They're ready to drop the thing, and Obama's coming back to power. You guys heard his little Messiah speech, how he's like, don't be looking for a Messiah in the sky. We can do this and work together, and he's just trying to make it look so grand. When I first saw him a lot back in the day, he, I couldn't stand him right from the start, and I know that he's evil, but he was very stammering in a lot of ways when he would talk. And then somewhere along the line, it got smooth. It got real smooth on a few of on the conversation. I don't think they were practiced. It was the indwelling of pure evil, and his talking was just like so smooth. And when I was watching him on the Messiah one, he was doing the same thing. He's trying to get power. And he also has an excitement in him, an excitement of coming back. He said, what did he say? He said something about the Messiah not running for office this time when he comes back to power. He's hinting that he is. Meanwhile, in Trump, I see a stepping down about to take place. Something's going on. I think the whole thing's been rigged the whole time. I think it always has been. And, I don't know exactly what it is with that. But I looked in Luke, when God told me, let the dead bury the dead, the very add-on part of that verse is, go continue doing the work of the Lord, which is what He's been wanting me to do the whole time, anyways. So it's really interesting. Let's see if I can point it out here. Here it is, Luke 9:60. Jesus said unto him, "Let the dead bury the dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of God." That's the second part. Now, when I asked about Trump, God goes, "Let the dead bury the dead." But I seeked it out, and that's the second part of it. And what was I doing up there in the first place? Exactly what I'm doing now. I'm preaching the word of God to the four corners of the world. All right, it's a globe, hollow. It's not a square, so don't take that literally what I just said. But all right, that's exactly what I've been doing the whole time, and that's what He wanted me to continue to doing. Don't worry about the presidency or any of that stuff. It's all in the wind, you know. He's got everything under control. It's in His timeline, and I feel it's really getting close, and you guys do too. So don't be discouraged, all right? Or whatever you do, don't start backsliding and beating your manservant. That's a joke, as in going back to the world and going about your business. So we have a lot of time, because we don't. This is man. This looks good. This looks really good, all right? So we'll keep talking about it. You guys leave comments and stuff like that. If you got a verse maybe that I didn't miss, I'd be happy to talk about it, or leave a comment on what I got. For those that are pre-tribulation, you know what I'm saying? No nonsense. And but yeah, this is what I got so far. And it looks big. It looks real big, and I think that we might be onto something here. So I'm glad I got to share it with you guys, and I'm going to be popping out videos whenever I can, because it's getting closer and I'm getting more excited, and I'm craving that feeling again of going up in the rapture. That was so amazing. It's so powerful, and it's one of the things I get to look at when I run out of steam. You know, I have that, and I'm so grateful for it. It's so awesome, but. Well, that's where I'm going to leave it at right now, all right? So that's pretty interesting, okay? And check it out. Look into it yourself. Start looking at verses. See if you guys can find something that goes against this, because the way it looks good, all right? Thanks for joining me on the Unleashing. I'll catch you next time. Bye.